Hello everybody and welcome to my first Destiny Rising video. Today I will be starting with an Efrideet build guide. Let's begin. So for her artifacts, since that's what people actually came for, let's start with that. Looking at a recommended for slot 1 is Nimble Ground and Bulwark Token. These two are okay. Since Nimble Ground is a flat damage increase while moving, not bad, not great. And Bulwark Token is a overshield on a precision final blow. Also, again, it's a bit better than Nimble Ground, but not really what you want. It's far too conditional, relying on a kill, especially in endgame activities where enemies are tankier and they deal a lot more damage. So instead of those two, I would suggest Nourishing Pact. And you're probably wondering, why Nourishing Pact? Isn't that for characters with summons like Estella and Ningfei? And you wouldn't be wrong to say that. This is also good on those characters. However, Efrideet's spears count as summons, which is really convenient for us. So that is why Nourishing Pact is in slot 1. So every time you throw a spear, you regain a chunk of your health. Now, for slot 2, what they recommend here is Inverted Tenacity, Unrelenting Token, or Healing Ground. Inverted Tenacities, it's okay. Again, it's okay. It's a flat damage resistance, but the issue is it only applies when your health is below 38%. And in endgame activities, being below 38% means you're 1 or 2 hits away from dying. And that is, you never want to be in this position. Now, Healing Ground, I'm going to skip Unrelenting Token, come back to that. Healing Ground, no, never use this. It's just so bad. If you guys read it with me, final blows landed while moving across ground restore 16% health. Now, you might be thinking that's really good, 16% health, but then it's only 16% health, not total health. So that only applies to the health before your shield, which is useless for us. Never ever use this. Don't recommend on any character. And lastly, Unrelenting Token. This, of the three, this is the best option of the 3 recommended, but not best in slot. So this is good because if you're playing in first person, you're often aiming down sights, so it's really easy to trigger the damage resistance. Whereas if you play in third person, you're not aiming down sights that often, so it's not as good. That's why I wouldn't recommend. I recommend this, but I wouldn't recommend this. You get what I'm saying? What I actually recommend is something that would complement your Nourishing Pact. That being Ring of Conversion. Ring of Conversion allows overflow healing from the wielder's own ability to become an overshield. Why is that so significant, you may ask? That is because, as an Efrideet player, the first thing you should be doing when you go into an engagement is throwing a spear. And since now our spears heal for 20% at the tier 5 perk level, that is, you don't really want to waste that healing. So that's why now, instead of healing for 20% when you're full health, that extra healing becomes overshields, which adds on to your survivability. So these two perks, thank you, zombies, these two artifacts, in conjunction with each other, grant you so much survivability as Efrideet, it is unreal. And now, what can further boost that survivability are the substats you use. So, in my opinion, 2 of these substats are a must on every single character, and that is Elemental Resistance, which is a flat damage resistance to all elements. And the good thing about this game is 90 to 95% of the damage that gets dealt to you is elemental. Of the few sources of non-elemental damage, one of them is like a melee damage, right? And to avoid melee, it's pretty easy. You jump back from the enemy. or you kite away from them. The sub effect is also very convenient, where you take an instance of elemental damage and the next time damage is dealt to you, it is reduced. So that brings your total damage resistance up to like 54% of the second time you get hit, which is really nice. So that's why I think of what that has to be one of them, one of the substats you have to have. The other one is defense boost, which is again a flat damage resistance against all, this time against all types of damage. And the sub effect is very similar to elemental resistance, where you take an instance of damage, and in this case it has to be 20% greater than 20% of your total health. There is a 100% chance to reduce that damage again further by 26.25%. So that's these two together. It's so that, what is that? 24% damage resistance plus 21%. That's like what, 44% damage resistance flat. Now for the other two options, for the substats, you can choose between these four, in my opinion: range damage resistance, shield boost, health boost, and overshield bonus. Now, why have I chosen overshield? One, it synergizes really well with Ring of Conversion, because you remember, overflow healing becomes overshield. This grants us more overshield when we gain it, and every 25 seconds you'll get a chunk of overshield. Great for survivability, keeps you alive for longer. My other personal option is health boost, which increases base max health by 54% rounding up, and the sub effect is you get damage resistance while you do not have a shield. This has saved me on more than one occasion when dealing with high difficulty enemies. It's often that my shield gets completely broken, and then I am surviving, waiting for my spear to come off of cooldown so I can throw it to regenerate health. So this is very nice to have. Now, these two middle ones here are personal preference. As I highlighted earlier, you can also choose range damage resistance or shield boost. They're both equally as good. Like, at this point, these four here, you can choose any four between them. But I personally would suggest overshield bonus, health boost. But if you feel like these two don't give you as good as a boost or buff as range damage resistance or shield boost, go ahead and try it out. So, and also make sure that on both artifacts you have the same sub stats. That's very important to get the tier 10 base effect boost. Okay? Make sure they are both the same. Now, moving on to artifact slot 3. Here, you can completely ignore calming token because Efrideet has a run and gun style. So you're not going to be standing still dealing damage. It's just wasted. Now, this Courageous Planetesimal, it's good, but it's an older artifact, meaning that it's essentially not as up to date. Reading it, you cost an ability, you get a 25% damage bonus for 10 seconds. That's pretty good, actually. 25% damage bonus is good. But now, with other artifacts, such as Preponderant Plasma, instead of 25%, we have a 30% damage bonus for 4 seconds. But that 4 seconds can be repeated every time you throw a spear, because your spears inflict a debuff called Blind. So this is very good, but it's still not quite the best in slot. So you're probably wondering what actually is best in slot, and that would be Rampaging Pact. Since we have now established that Efrideet spears count as summons, having a slight increase in damage over preponderant plasma is very nice. And the fact Efrideet spears regenerate so quickly means that we don't have to care that much about the limit being only 6 seconds, because then we can just refresh it by throwing another spear. Super easy, super convenient, plus it's an extra 3% over preponderant plasma. And the last and final slot is not Hawkeye token. This is again, you don't want to be standing stationary, shooting targets in the distance. And with an Efrideet, you're never more than 20 meters away. You're always closer than 20 meters to a target because of the weapons you use. And the way your playstyle is. Now, the best in slot actually is Undaunted Spiral rather than Valiant Veil, but they're very similar. So if you manage to get a Valiant Veil at level 90, 5-star tier, use it. And you don't have to worry about anything else. But if you have the spare time, go for Undaunted Spiral. It's ever so slightly better. Why do I say that? So if you look at both of them, they both provide a 30% damage bonus. See, damage one. The only difference is Undaunted Spiral has a longer damage bonus. So Valiant Veil is only 8 seconds, whereas Undaunted Spiral is almost double that, which just makes it convenient for use. All right. So these are the 4 best in slots. And the substats, you just want to get 4 gold substats for the damage artifacts of 3 and 4. Some people might argue super boost, but I don't think it's worth it because Efrideet super is 120-second cooldown or 2-minute cooldown. That's just the interval between using the super is just too long, and you lose out damage in other ways. So for the substats for slot 3 and 4, you want weapon enhancement, damage bonus, arc boost, and signature boost, and it's just non-negotiable. I think these 4 are just the best for Efrideet. And again, make sure they're the same on both artifacts. Excellent. Now, this is where you can take your screenshot. If you only came for the screenshot, this is the place. I'll give you 5 seconds. And now we will move on to Efrideet's weapons. So Efrideet is a piercing character. She has a hand cannon and a sniper rifle. So what, in my opinion, the best primary hand cannon on Efrideet is the Crimson. Why? That is because Crimson's intrinsic, where the weapon reloads on precision kills and can also heal you on a kill. It's so good for survivability. It is unreal. And to deal with not only piercing Shinkas, but also rapid fire Shinkas, having it be a 3-round burst is really nice as well. The other option that you could argue for instead of Crimson is Till Eternal Death. This is very good, in my opinion, for single target damage because of this intrinsic trait, which allows the gun to do more damage on each consecutive precision hit up to 5 times, which is essentially 5 times 20 being 100% damage bonus. So instead of doing just the base damage, you're now doing the double the damage at 5 stacks, which is just so nice, especially against single targets. And the other intrinsic is it just lightning. It just you do lightning damage at the point you hit the enemy, so it's nice. This is better for bosses, I'd say, and longer extended boss fights. Whereas for any other use, this is just better. All right. So if you cannot get either the Crimson or the Eternal Death, and you have to settle for a mythic weapon, it would be the new Jezi Baba with Cornucopia and Horror's Metabolism. Because the new perks that were introduced in season 4, they just are so much better than the older perks. It's unreal. So the 3 weapons, primary weapons I recommend in order are Crimson number 1, Till Eternal Death, and Jezi Baba would be tied for number 2. But if you're against, again, a single boss, take Till Eternal Death. Now, for the sniper rifle power weapon, what used to be the best solar sniper would have been the 40,000 sidereal year. But with the new introduction of the IST-3 Zuko Oklak, it has dethroned the 40k by a landslide. It's like it's thrown the 40k so far away because the new perks again are so strong. Now, if you that's for solar. Now for void, I would recommend the Magawichi with Annihilation and Pranayama. That would be the best void sniper. If you want an arc sniper, I would not recommend the Tatar's Gaze. It's just not that good. And on top of that, you're an arc character. Needing an arc sniper isn't that necessary because you have a lot of arc sources in your kit. One being your spears. They do a lot of arc damage to arc shields. Another would be your primary, since the primaries I all recommended are all arc. So it's not necessary to get a arc sniper. But if you have to insist for an arc sniper, try to get the Cloud Strike. It is excellent. Now, with the weapons covered, should I rank the weapons? IST-3 number 1, Cloud Strike number 2, if you need an arc, and Magoichi number 3. In my opinion, I might be wrong. That's fine. So now we've covered the weapons, the artifacts. Let's go with the relic abilities. Quick rundown. Let's start off with the Emanare ability. I have gone with Prudent Counter because you're going to be using your primary weapon a lot. And it helps with survivability and doing a little bit of extra damage. Not bad. The passive is essentially you throw a spear, you get a damage bonus. Pretty easy. The second signature ability, competition time, the dash. You dash, you reload your weapon, or it reloads your weapon up to double the weapon's magazine size, and it gives you a rate of fire bonus as well, which is really, 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 really nice. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of people are using Efrideet in Expanse Rapid Fire. Now, the main signature ability, Spears, they have a few effects. They blind the enemy when you hit them. A knock back to the enemy as well. Very nice for, like, say an enemy with a sword is a dog, like, a Cabal Dog or a Hive Knight. coming to melee you. You can throw a spear, you knock him back, you avoid the damage. Really nice. These two in conjunction give you great damage output. So what you do, maybe you start on a damage rotation. You pull out your spear, throw it, pop your super, swap to your sniper, trigger competition time, put a few competition time bullets from your sniper into the enemy. As soon as your spear is back up, throw it, and just continue to unload your sniper until it's depleted. And then essentially you repeat that until you're out of sniper bullets. It's a really simple damage rotation, which is nice to have. Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't cover the super ability. The super, think of it as a bigger spear, deals damage over time, also inflicts blind. So it's good to have, but the cooldown is too long. Not worth it. So that's a quick TLDR of the relic abilities. Main ones are throw spear, dash. And then if you want to read it more in depth, you can do that in your own time. Very easy. And then talent tree, right. So Efrideet is incredibly strong, even at tier 0. Now, if you have Lumia leaves left over, I would highly suggest trying to get her tier 1 talent tree activated, because it helps a lot with survivability. And if you are a whale and can afford to get a tier 6, like I have, go all the way. She's 100% worth it. 100% worth it. Now, so going over each of the tiers individually. So we have lightning recovery. So when an enemy is affected by your javelin, javelin's blind and they are killed, you recover health. And your javelin will get energy refunded to it, which is really nice. Tier 2, casting your dash ability provides electrostatic energy. And every time you hit an enemy while you have electrostatic energy, you trigger a lightning burst, similar to the Till Eternal Death intrinsic catalyst. Tier 3, damage of your super is increased by 30% flat. So if you can, tier 3 is like, it's kind of whatever. Tier 4, it enhances electrostatic energy by increasing the damage of lightning burst by 30%. So it's a pretty big chunk of damage increase. And the thunderous javelin lasts longer after hitting a target as well, which is nice. It's nice. Tier 5, the damage bonus provided by competitive advantage, so 10%, 20%. So 10% at base and 20% when the bar is full is now increased to 30% at full. And the max score available while competition active is increased to 24 as well. And finally, tier 6, your spears now fire another spear. So instead of firing the 2 spears, it now fires 3, which prioritize locking onto targets that haven't been hit by spear before. Essentially, it's another damage increase. Very nice to have. But if you can't afford it, tier 0 is fine. If you can push just a little bit more, tier 1 as a free to play. And if you're a whale, go all the way to tier 6. Very much worth it. Now, and lastly, Ascend. I'm not sure how many people have covered. Ascend is just a damage bonus increase. It starts off at 8%. And with the first one, you get the signature. So it's like, kind of nice. It's kind of cool to have. And then it's just a damage bonus over time. You can see 10, 13, 16, and 20% increase. This ascension system is very much a end game, long wait kind of thing. All right, that should be everything that you guys need to know about Efrideet, her weapons, her relic abilities, the artifacts that are best in slot for her, and what you should push for in the talent tree to at what level you're playing. So remember, a quick overview: hand cannon, Crimson is number 1, sniper ISD3 number 1, in my opinion. Artifacts, you have Nourishing Pact, Ring of Conversion in the 2nd slot, Rampaging Pact in the 3rd slot, and the 4th slot is Undaunted Spiral. Talent tree, free to play. Stick to tier 0 or tier 1 if you can push for it. Don't go beyond that. Don't stretch yourself. Lumia leaves too thin, because there's always going to be new characters. And Efrideet she may eventually be power crept. All right. That is everything from me. Thank you, everybody. And goodbye.